We've got details on the USL CBA. We have a brand new club badge explainer, and we dive into MLS Next Pro in AC Grand Rapids. That and much more coming up on Monday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kick Around, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. How you doing? My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy. To my side, we got radio soccer guy Json Davis.
Yes, I am radio soccer guy Json Davis. I am also frustrated computer user Json Davis. So there may be some technical issues in today's show. If I just disappear, it's not because I quit on Rob and I threw my hands up and I walked away from Morning Kick Around, the thing that I built and am so excited to see grow. And as I was shipping out jerseys today, no, it's because I have technical issues. But hopefully everything works and you can at least hear me for the entirety of the show.
Yeah, so we'll warn everybody, if Json suddenly just becomes a still photograph, that is not an aspect of the show that we are striving for, but it may just happen.
I hope it's not a omen and a harbinger, or however you say that, of what's to come in Rhode Island. I think we're going to be good for Rhode Island, right? We think.
Oh, we'll have to maybe invest in some show infrastructure if that's the case. But at least your stock image you have to replace you. If you disappear, you look pretty good in it. So at least there's that.
Oh, well, it's a headshot from years ago on when I was doing radio. So I mean, for the radio, I haven't gotten it updated. So there might be a little bit more gray and aging in the current version of Json Davis. But I think I carry it off. I think I think it works for me.
Oh. I think it does too, but we shall see how it goes. We shall see how it goes. Hopefully the camera and all of our technology holds up as we have a really good show, big show today. We got a great guest, Darius Barnes, president of AC Grand Rapids, an independent MLS Next Pro team building a big old brand new stadium on the banks of the river there on the west side of Michigan. We're going to get into the details of the USL CBA, the second ever CBA, and it has details for USL Premier. So good to see plans for the first division of USL being fleshed out as well. We have a badge explainer, one of the staples of the show. We talk a lot of stadiums, but we're going to get into a badge explainer, and it's an interesting one.
I think we're going to find out whether the people of Cleveland and Northeast Ohio are as excited about the badge that we're going to talk about as Pittsburgh Yinzers are, is that what they're called, about their potential new stadium design there on the banks of the river in Pittsburgh, because videos about the Pittsburgh Riverhounds plan went crazy over the last couple of days for Morning Kick Around, Rob.
Yeah, when we were talking about Pittsburgh Stadium, would we have thought of that would be our number one video on YouTube? YouTube's one heck of a place. You never know what catches fire, what doesn't.
I think it is. We not being Pittsburgh people ourselves. I have been there once in my life. I don't know if you've ever been.
Just the airport.
Oh, you've been to the airport. I actually went into town, or I was by the airport. My wife was working at the airport. So but I don't know how much downtown Pittsburgh I had. The only thing is, I think maybe it caught on because they were all calling us idiots for not knowing that Mount Washington does have buildings on it. And that was simply a rendering that didn't reflect the accuracy, the real life elements of Washington. So, whatever.
Well, I didn't delve too deep into the comments. I saw a couple and then carried on with my day, but I feel like I put a caveat and I said, rendering, but
we both admitted we didn't know what we were talking about on that particular front. Guitariaga is saying it's because we called it potentially the best stadium in the country, which in terms of like the visuals, I think it might be. Like it could be. We weren't lying about that. It could potentially be one of the most unique stadiums, certainly in America, but maybe even around the world. Like, there are accounts that make a living on like, look at the mountains outside of the stadium, or look how this field's on this little inlet, or there's, I don't know, like a canyon and there's a stadium in it. And it's like, yeah, Pittsburgh on the river, 3 sides open to the Monongahela. Yeah, let's go.
Actually, you don't always get a lot of enrichment from YouTube comments, but there was one that was actually really, really good that said he'd been a match official there at Pittsburgh on a number of occasions, saying that literally anywhere you are on the field, there's some sort of a amazing vista. And then being a linesman with the train at his back, he said that's pretty intimidating. It feels like it's literally on your heels, a train rushing by. It's pretty intense experience. He said
That's
there's always
awesome.
there's
That's
like
awesome.
mountains on one side, or you're looking at the high rises of downtown, where you have the river there, and there's planes flying by as well as the train trestling by. So exciting stuff there. Good comment in the YouTubes there, but it was a big soccer weekend. I spent the day Saturday afternoon, DCFC's first ever acknowledgement of my Oakland County FC. It was for a mascot day, but okie dokie, the purple squirrel of Oakland County represented. I don't know if we got any goals when he played against the 7-year-olds in the halftime show, but
Okay.
it was a great event. Ran into a lot of OCFC players, some former DCFC players. Shout out to Steve Carroll, spent a bunch of time with us, and shout out to Sean Mann likewise. He chatted for a while, and in Detroit, getting one of their not too many wins against Louisville, and it was a big one. Local guy Connor Rutz getting the winning goal, beating Louisville 2-1 statement win. They're saying,
Yeah, that's. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, you were engaged in some lower division stuff. I know some wild stuff happened down in Miami. Inter Miami cannot see. Shout out to Mr. Bob, who was saying the question of the day is whether or not Inter Miami is cursed in their new building because they just can't seem to figure out how to win there, and they lost from a 3-0 lead against Orlando, who fired their coach already. It's been terrible this year. Martino Ojeda went off. Anyway, that's neither here nor there for our topics today. I just thought I'd throw that in.
yeah, lots of good stuff. Great, busy, fun weekend. And also shout out USL 2. I saw Chris Sau, our local USL 2 expert, saying that there was the first match of USL 2 action kicked off over the weekend. And then it's OCFC. The players are arriving. First training day for my guys as well. So we're getting into full swing of soccer 2026. And I'm glowing, Jason. Couldn't
You're
be
glowing.
happier.
I can see it. Look at how shiny everything is about Rob Kerr because summer soccer is almost here. It's a great time to be alive.
And we have a trip. We have morning kick around on location happening this very weekend. Can't wait. Flying out on Thursday, spending the whole weekend with Rhode Island folks, getting tours, meeting community members, meeting creators, and then capping it all off with our college game day style show from Centerville Bank Stadium there in Pawtucket, courtesy of Blackstone Valley Tourism Council. Thank you guys. They're bringing us out there, and it's set to be an awesome time. Can't wait to see what the supporters have to say, and meeting all sorts of team officials and all sorts of folks that are supporting.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for this. They are giving us the full itinerary, as you said, the tour, Blackstone Valley. We've connected with Rhode Island FC to make sure the logistics are on point for the day at the stadium. It looks like tentatively we will be posted outside of Centerville Bank Stadium, which I think actually makes a lot of sense. I think it's going to be hopefully the weather. I haven't checked on the weather yet, Rob. Maybe tomorrow is the day to check on the weather. Close enough that we can get an idea. But I know we've got some ultras that live in the general New England area. Hopefully a couple of them make it out to see us. We want to spread the word. We're working on getting some things we can hand out to people. Tell everybody you know to at least check in on us on Saturday night. I know there's a lot of soccer going on a Saturday in America, 6 p.m. Eastern time. But your guys are going to be doing something special live from Rhode Island for only the second time ever, a live on-site American soccer show spotlighting something that's happening in this great game of ours in our country. So tell people you know, spread the word. You know what? If you're out at a game, put us on YouTube and just let your phone sit there and let us be on your phone while you're watching whatever game you're attending or whatever you're doing.
Let's get some numbers.
Sense?
Pump
Good?
the numbers. Pump the numbers.
Let's go, baby. We need numbers. We'll throw in a Pittsburgh stadium rendering if we need to, but we really don't want to have to do that.
Yeah, and that's the subscribers numbers going up. I think hopefully that's a goal. Hopefully we get to surpass 8K subscribers by the time the week is done. Support the show. Free to subscribe. You can hit the like button here under the video. And there we go. Jason, the young, handsome Jason on screen. And then you can also become an MK Ultra, just a couple bucks a month. You get your comments on screen during these live shows. You get bonus content and access to the Morning Kick Around Discord server, which is just growing and growing. We have threads from local soccer all the way up to the national team, all the leagues in between. and they are thriving, I would say.
Debate is on fire over there in the Discord, and hopefully everybody is in, like, has a good spirit about it, that we're debating with respect and consideration for our fellow soccer fans. But man, look, American soccer fans, is going to happen again. American soccer fans love their game, right? They do, and they want to see it grow and thrive, and they want to see American soccer work. As my camera has completely stopped on me, but go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. All right. So I think with all that said, support in any way you can. We appreciate everything that you can do to support this show and what we're doing to cover American soccer. But with all that said, let's move into our topics of the day, shall we? Let's move into our long balls, kicking off here, Monday's edition, Morning Kick Around. Welcome on in here. Monday's edition of Morning Kick Around. On Friday's show, as we started the show, there was breaking news that the USL Players Association and the league had reached a tentative bargaining agreement, the second ever combined bargaining agreement. And over the weekend, we got some details of this agreement. It's great that some of the details are exciting. It seems like there was some middle ground found. Salaries went up. The length of the CBA was longer than maybe some expected, but good to see that a tentative agreement has come to pass, and that we can move past this and move on to plans regarding the USL Premier. That was exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sorry about my camera, everybody. Having some technical issues, as I told you. Now, Rob, the path to this was obviously not easy, right? We kept hearing that the players were not getting anything close to what they wanted, that obviously health insurance was key. Consistently, those image rights were an issue in terms of what the league was willing to pay, right? Compared to, say, I think the PWHL rights, the Women's Hockey League, they had a much better deal than the USL Championship players, and the players are clearly upset about this. But there's the details on screen, as you can see. And it seems like maybe the players did get some significant increases in important things. And to remember, again, on the table for the players is sort of leveraging the idea of, you're starting a first division soccer league. You can't be messing around with us. No,
it's great to see that there is plans being fleshed out from USL Premier, because we really haven't heard a whole lot of details from that, other than, it was announced and then we got the naming of the first division for USL. But it's great to see that within this bargain agreement, they were looking to the future and setting the standard there. And you can see the details on screen. The deal runs through 2030 with an extra year, depending upon details around health insurance. And we have learned that there was just a small amount of teams and players actually affected by the issues at hand. And I'd say a note to the players, and kudos to the players for the solidarity. If 80% of the players are getting what they wanted anyway, it would be very easy. And I'm sure in negotiations in other sports in the past, that 80% of players just blew past and just, turned their backs a little bit on that 20% at the bottom. And that minimum salary moving up $11,000, it seems like a small amount, but if you're on $30,000 and you go up to $42,000, that's significant. That's a big percentage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we're talking about barely livable wages here, to be a professional soccer player. Now, look, 12-month contracts, right? Big. That's an important part of this as well. So the players don't have to worry about, I'm not going to get paid for 2 months of the year. Now, obviously, they're going to have to do other things, right? This is the way MLS worked in the beginning. There were players who were high school soccer coaches. That was true up until the past the Beckham arrived era. That was still a thing. So, this is the way that professional and look, outside of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 leagues in the world, it's kind of your life to have to cobble together different things if you want to be a professional soccer player. There are lots of those in the world and lots of leagues, and therefore when there are that many open positions, and obviously the USL Players Association is kind of fighting against this notion of like, oh, you don't like it here? Go get a job somewhere else. But obviously this is not that, right? In America, you can't just pick up and leave and go get a visa to go play somewhere else if you're an American soccer player in particular. And we want this league to be an incubator of American soccer players in particular.
Yeah, we sure do. And it is making it viable for young people that are considering dedicating their life, or at least their young portion of their life, to this trade. And like with any trade, if it's not a viable path to the future, you're going to lose a lot of people. So there could be some really talented players that just move on because there's other ways to make money.
And I see Soccer Night in Detroit living on an average retail clerk's salary is not the way to be living as a professional athlete. I mean, that's, again, we're talking about USL Premier, when it starts, is going to be $50,000, right? If you're 23 and you're making $50,000, depending on what part of the country you live in, and you've got 2 roommates and, you know, that you're eating ramen most of the time. I mean, I don't know what the team is providing. Obviously, that's part of the professional standards that we were talking about going into this. You know, that's not the worst life. It's not the worst life. It could work for a lot of people. But of course, again, there's this tension. The league representing the owners of these clubs will say, hey, look, do you want there to be a league? You cannot put this much red ink on the ledger for these teams by asking us for these massive increases. I mean, massive, relatively speaking, massive in terms of percentages. You can't be asking for all these extra things when we're barely making money or not making money at all. And these, you know, how many clubs are going to be backed by owners willing to lose $1 million or $2 million every single year as they try to build this thing, right? This is a give and take. And it's incumbent upon the league to treat the players fairly, to treat the players professionally, to give them an opportunity to grow so the product on the field is something that people will want to go out and support, buy tickets to go see. But it's also incumbent on the players not to say, well, if you don't do this, then, you know, we have to walk away because then there's no league. Look, no, there's no negotiation in the history of the world where both sides were like, I got exactly what I wanted, right? There's going to have to be give and take.
Yeah, there sure will be. And it's good to see. It's almost like a breath of fresh air. There's no strike. I mean, obviously, they keep on saying tentative, so they're throwing a little bit of a caveat in there. But this is really good news, and hopefully the league and the players can then just step forward in being the best players and in the best league they can be in building for the future and not having to worry about labor tumult, as they say. But
tumult. I like that. It's a good word. It's a good word.
Clang the clanger for vocab? Maybe not.
No.
All right, I'm excited. I love hitting sound effects buttons. But all that aside, let's move on to our next topic. Let's get into some badges here on Morning Kickaround. We got a brand new club and brand announced. Cleveland's WPSL team that's set to kick off in 2028. Welcome, Cleveland Astra. Come on down. And this has a high bar. We're going to look at the badge, and there is a badge explainer. We talked about Forest City, the men's team, not too long ago, and that got rave reviews. But here's Cleveland Astra, the women's team, set to start in Cleveland.
Okay, look, I'll admit I come into this cold. I know this got posted in the Discord. It's another reason to become an ultra, so you can be part of the discussion around stuff like this with other soccer fans. I did not know this was a thing until this morning, but I love a badge. I love new things in American soccer. We are great at making new things in American soccer. Sometimes we're not great about keeping those things around for very long, but we're good at making new things. And I hope that this works out. Okay, set the stage for me here, Rob. What level, what are we talking about here? What's this women's team trying to accomplish? First professional women's team in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, they are participating in the WPSL, and I'll admit as well, that league has been around a really long time, but there hasn't been a WPSL presence near me in any of the cities that I've lived, so I'm not super familiar, but I do know there are some teams that have been there for a very long time. One of the big notes here is the group that is behind this. They actually own a site in the Gateway District near Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland. So they got some big plans to build a brand new stadium downtown for them. We see the badge have colors described as violet purple, midnight blue and gold inspired by nebulas and Lake Erie at night and Cleveland architecture. And Astra is Latin for stars, reflecting Cleveland Pro Soccer's mission to be the region's North Star of soccer, Jason.
Okay. I mean, it seems like a random word. It seems like just a word. And look, I mean, that's American sports. Like, we don't always have to be like, well, this connects with our history. And, we're really talking about a link to the past, the founders of the city. I mean, we had Forest City, and they had chosen that because of a particular batch of trees, right? Like the trees that have been around since the founding of the city was the thing there with Forest City, right? Cleveland Astra. Okay. So as you said, Latin for stars, to be named for the stars is to accept their terms. Oh, this is going to get good. This is going to get good. Burn bright, hold your position, and light the way for others. Latin is a nod to the many languages across our communities. All right, that part I don't. I'm not buying that one. Latin is a nod to the many languages across our communities. No, just say it's cool. Just say it's a cool word. You don't have to give me some nonsense reason why you chose Latin. That's not, I mean, is it like, we have some Spanish speakers in Cleveland, therefore we need a that's why we chose a Latin word? Ohio in the lower crest. It's the foundation of our crest, our launch pad, a symbol that Astra is part of the larger movement in our home state. I do kind of like that, Rob. Like the shape of the state of Ohio, basically the general shape, right? And then the star is where Cleveland is in the state of Ohio, right? That's what I'm taking away from this.
Say it again. Sorry, I was reading the comments.
Ohio in lower crest, right? That's the shape. That's the general shape of Ohio, generally speaking.
Correct.
I think maybe the bottom they're cheating a little bit with the crest shape, but generally speaking, that's sort of like supposed to be the shape of Ohio, and the star is where Cleveland would be in the state of Ohio, right? Is that am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, I
generally
believe.
speaking.
Yes.
Okay.
Generally speaking, you're correct, and I think there was some of that imagery too in the Forest City. And getting my facts updated, so WPSL has been an amateur league for a long time, and the WPSL Pro has been a league teased for a number of years, but they're set to start as a professional outfit in 2027 for all clarity, and this team has aspirations to be in that.
So this is interesting to me. So obviously we need to do our research and really know what's going on with WPSL Pro, but this is a third women's professional league in America, right? We have NWSL. Everybody agrees that that's the top of the mountain. Yep. Then you have the USL Super League, which plays on the other calendar, doesn't play on the same calendar, and is trying to grow their thing. And now you have WPSL Pro. I would imagine that for a group like this, I don't know how resourced they are. I don't know how much money's behind this, but I imagine for a group like this, you can't just walk in to NWSL, right? That costs significant money. They got to choose you. Okay. So obviously, and I know Cleveland made a pitch for NWSL and it didn't go. And now Columbus is getting an NWSL team. And probably NWSL is not going back to Ohio for a while after this expansion into Columbus. And obviously with the Super League, again, you have to choose that calendar. And USL may have a lot of things going for it, but if you're a club that just doesn't have access to it, you don't want your stadium to be a winter stadium in Cleveland, then your only option might be WPSL Pro. And we don't have like a long list of teams or anything here, right? For this league, this is still very much in its infancy in terms of an idea, like getting off the ground.
From what I'm seeing, the initial markets, the confirmed teams include the Cleveland Astra, Austin, Atlanta, Dallas, Denver, Fargo, Houston, Oklahoma City, Sioux Falls, Wichita, and the Bay Area. So some different markets there, or
all
cities.
Right, yeah.
I can't believe I used markets. I don't like that word.
Yeah, I mean, so this is as somebody, I think it was Chris said, this is going to be a Division II league. They're going for Division II sanctioning, which I guess was an upgrade because I think they were looking at Division III sanctioning at one point. So they're, whether they can make this work, my apologies for my camera, but whether or not they can make this work, we shall see. I don't want to say a whole lot about WPSL Pro. We'll just say this badge is cool. It does feel very workshopped. It feels very marketing focused, which is not necessarily a bad thing if you're trying to get attention. right? So they
Well,
got the Bear, Ursa Major. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
I was going to say, well, in the press release here that came out just this morning, that hence why we're kind of jumping into this cold. They say that they've been, talking to people for months and workshopping it. But there was an interesting quote. They say one woman that apparently a lot of the direction they wanted to have a brand and a badge that reflected like the grit and the hard work of Cleveland. And there's a quote from an anonymous woman labeled here that they had a big change of direction because this one woman said, I'm tired of grit. I'm tired of suffering. I want something for us to soar to and be aspirational, something to look up to. So whether that person was real, it seemed like we were going in a grit type direction and then kind of went off in this one. So that's an interesting note as well, that they didn't want to necessarily lean into grinding it out and being gritty as well. And before we move on, I want to bring this up and where they are actually going to be.
Let me stop you. That's a rejection of the blue collar character of Cleveland. Is that what I want to understand from what you're saying there to me there?
Maybe just to put some wind underneath people's wings rather than talk about like the hard times and battling through, I guess.
Sure. Okay. I got you. Okay. That kind of makes sense now. Got it. What else you got?
Oh, so here's the actual quote. One woman said, I'm so tired of being resilient and I just want to have what I need to fly. That gave us kind of a sense of, okay, we need to start looking up. And forgive me if you already said this, but is the animal, is that supposed to be a representation of Ursa Major, the constellation?
It says it right there, Rob, on the explainer. Ursa Major, not a mascot. She's a navigator. The Great Bear constellation points the way to the North Star, built to love fiercely, protect her own, hold her ground, and keep us moving forward. All right. Again, lots of pretty words. I think it's just cool to have the bear there. I don't know if there's a connection specifically to Cleveland and all of that. I have no idea, but yeah.
Can you see stars when you're in Cleveland? Probably a lot of light pollution there.
I will say that the former USL team or whatever league that was, going way back now, was the Cleveland Stars. The men's team was the Cleveland Stars, Rob, if you remember that.
That's a good note. That's a really good note. Good context there. So there's probably some congruence there, but you'll see that they are planning for the stadium. That's wild that they say they already own this plot of land right there downtown, right by the stadiums. It does look like I-90 is that's a big land barrier in between there and those other stadiums. But that's interesting that that it's right there. It's not like on some far-flung suburb or anything like that.
Yeah, Chris is giving us some of the other names in the WPSL Pro. The town, which is what the
We've heard of that,
San Francisco San Jose Earthquakes 2 was called as well.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that's I guess co-branding there. And again, something we talked about on Friday that's not related directly to this story, but I do want to talk about a bit here. And we hopefully got Darius Barnes from AC Grand Rapids joining us in a couple minutes. So let me tease that. Okay, we're going to get Darius on in a second, right? So last week on Friday, you and I discussed a couple of things that had happened in lower division soccer. One of those things was that changed the professional league standards and the ownership requirements and the net worth for the principal owner of teams at the second division level. And the other thing was the private equity that was entering into MLS Next Pro to push forward that competition. Again, this is not directly related to this, but the idea that these leagues are popping up, that there are people investing beyond just like in a local way is something I think we should be keeping an eye on. And my friend Wes Burdine, who is up there in Minnesota, runs his bar up there in Minnesota and also is a very good writer and has written plenty on American soccer, has a Substack, I think, and wrote on these issues. And I'm just going to point people in that direction because he and I had a little back and forth over the weekend. He said he thinks this is an earthquake, a massive thing to happen in American soccer. And he said nobody was talking about it, was under the radar. I was like, wait a second, we talked about it. And he's like, well, I'm not trying to say nobody did. Just didn't feel like people, sorry about my camera again, didn't feel like people cared enough about it, Rob. So I just wanted to throw that out there as we get ready for Darius.
Well, when I was out at the stadium on Saturday, people mentioned it too, but they said that they loved the show on Friday. We had a lot of updates. They said that was the boring part of the show, but I said it's so important though. And I agree with Wes that I do think, maybe it's a bit technical and a bit a higher level kind of details, but it does and will have a big effect on the American soccer landscape that we detail to a big degree on this show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and for your comments here on screen. Support any way we can. Do a thumbs up, subscribe, become a member. But I don't want to keep our guests waiting too long. We're going to talk about MLS Next Pro and brand new stadiums and teams here on Morning Kickaround. Get to know your district here on Morning Kickaround, and we're very pleased and excited to be joined by Darius Barnes, president of AC Grand Rapids, one of the independent teams joining MLS Next Pro. Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us here this morning.
How's it going, gents? Thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Appreciate you coming by, Darius. Very cool to talk to you. I remember you from your playing career, of course, as going back as I do, as you can see the gray in the beard. So I got some time in American soccer. So tell us, first of all, because Rob is a Michigan guy. I'm not really aware of the scene there. Tell us why Grand Rapids is a good place for a professional soccer team.
Yeah, I mean, I've just started to fall in love with the market and the community, right? And it's just seeing the game pop up in these call them secondary or tertiary markets, if you will. But I think this is an example of that soccer and football is alive everywhere across the United States, and we're seeing this kind of revolution and transition to local communities, and Grand Rapids I don't think is any different, and certainly punches above its weight class in terms of football culture. And so it's been great to be here and to just see the fandom around the sport, the interest around the sport, both at the youth level and as you grow through the professional ranks. I was at a bar speakeasy yesterday, kind of watching the game, the Man U Liverpool game with fans, and just the excitement there, just around the global game and global leagues, and the excitement about AC Grand Rapids coming to market. I think that speaks to just the growth of the sport, but the growth of the sport in these local communities, and Grand Rapids is certainly primed and ready for a professional soccer franchise.
I love to hear that you went out there to Speakeasy, one of my very favorite places in Grand Rapids, bar otherwise. But other than meeting folks there and learning folks there, what has surprised you? What has impressed you about Grand Rapids so far?
For me, it's just, we talk about, soccer and football being such a community sport, right? It's a sport of the fans, it's a sport of the people. And it brings this sense of togetherness, right? And I've started to sense that without even kicking a ball yet in the stadium, right? Everyone's extremely, collaborative, and, how can we help? How can we help build, the fan culture? How can we help you make connections from a business community standpoint, from a civic community standpoint? And that's really what I've been blown away by with this community. It's such a collaborative effort. And, I think that's a microcosm of really how, the club came to be, with our ownership group. We have fantastic owners in David Van Andel and Dan DeVos, and, with Amway Stadium, getting across the line, the public-private relationship there with the city. And, there's great relations just to, kind of get to the starting line. But we want to continue to amplify and snowball that and build that as we build the club. And so we're looking at different ways to collaborate with the local community to continue to build a fantastic football club here in Grand Rapids.
So what's the job right now? Where are you in this process, Darius? I mean, again, the stadium is obviously going to get a lot of attention, but where are you in the process of building AC Grand Rapids?
Yeah, I tell a lot of people we're kind of starting to get out of first gear, right? We're starting to shift gears a little bit. We're starting to staff up. I think we got to build the foundation right. I think any great club, you got to get the foundation right, because if you don't get that right from day one, they'll start to become cracks in the foundation later on that are hard to fix. And so for me, it's just getting the right people in the club and building the right way. And again, it's collaborating, because in football and soccer, but I think especially, at the lower league level, you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to wear different hats, and you need special talent, to be able to do that. And so right now we're highly focused on getting the right people here to build on the business and the sporting side, developing, those community and civic relationships. And, right now we have a crest, right? We have colors, but we don't have a brand. So how are we building the brand? How are we getting out to the community from a grassroots level, and engaging with, hopefully, those that will be our fans from day one. And so it's a lot of, meeting and integrating and, connecting with, different stakeholders to figure out how we can support the community. And that's the community that's going to support us.
What's the next thing that people can expect, the next big thing, that brand, or what's that next big announcement that's going to come?
Yeah, so right now we're working. I mean, you guys, we're in this, haven right now with the World Cup coming. It's just kind of this anticipation, but we're less than, we're about a month away from the World Cup, kicking off, right? And so we look at that as a huge opportunity. I don't think we could be launching in a better year than 2027. And so how are we leveraging the World Cup to gather fans, to bring people together and introduce them to AC Grand Rapids? And so we'll integrate with a number of events here locally to host watch parties and to celebrate the beautiful game. And then we'll also, we got to start selling tickets, right? And so we'll launch our season ticket member deposit campaign as we start to engage and, build that fan base, right? Just little by little start to build the foundation of the fan base. And so those are two kind of big markers we have coming up, just to start to celebrate the game and bring people around what we're building at AC Grand Rapids.
So Darius, you have experience in MLS Next Pro with a team that was connected to an MLS outfit. Why MLS Next Pro for AC Grand Rapids? Why is this the right place for this team to play when there are other options in lower division soccer?
Absolutely. I mean, I think other options it shows the growth and the trajectory that this sport has taken in this country. And I think with the wide and the mass and the vast nature of this country here domestically, there are certain markets that get looked over, right? And football is for everyone. And I say that all the time. It really is a sport for everyone, and it's not just secluded to the big markets and big cities. So being able to bring professional football, professional soccer to the, again, secondary, quote unquote, and tertiary markets, this is a place for us to play as well. And so I think for us, MLS Next Pro was the right move because it gives us opportunity from both the player development, which is a priority and a focus for MLS Next Pro, but also to engage with the top league domestically as well. And so I think being able to have kind of both of those end caps, if you will, and with MLS Next Pro growing, I heard you guys talking about the big announcement that took place last week. I think there's opportunity to continue to spread the game in different markets and grow the game and grow fans in different markets that helps grow MLS at the same time.
Well, can I ask you specifically about that then? So the announcement last week was that KKR, an investment firm, is partnering with MLS and creating a new company called, I think, Hometown Soccer Holdings. I think that's right. I know, Tom Glick and Chris Klein involved. So clearly there's this effort to, as you said, spread the game. My apologies for my camera. Spreading the game to the secondary, tertiary markets, however you want to describe them. What does that investment, I mean, from your perspective, obviously on the club side, not on the HSH side, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it means something different, whether you're, associated as an independent club like AC Grand Rapids, or if you're an MLS affiliated club like, Crown Legacy FC, where I came from in Charlotte, right? I think, the investment from KKR and Hometown Soccer Holdings to kind of inject some capital to help, hyper grow the league. I think that stakes to the ambition that the league has, right? We want to grow, we want to, be in different markets. And, right now it's been tough for MLS affiliated clubs to really kind of grow and capitalize on the opportunity because, you're in the same market as your first team, right? And so I think a great next step and a good hybrid approach is, putting these teams in markets that are, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the home market, and in markets that might not necessarily be able to travel, to an MLS match, right? But, certainly has an appetite. They have a hunger, they have a passion, they have a fan base, right? And so they give them, professional football in their home market. I think that's, just a fantastic opportunity and a great model. But you also need a real estate opportunity to build stadiums, right, that are right sized for these teams, because we've all been in it, right? If you're bringing in 4,000 fans in a 12,000 seat stadium, that's a great number, but optically doesn't necessarily look the best. So how are we massaging and getting things right and making sure our players, our fans are in environments that are lively, that are inhibiting and growing player development, putting them in atmospheres and environments to thrive. And MLS Next Pro is probably not going to be for a lot of players. Maybe that's not their North Star, right? But how are we a piece of the puzzle and part of that process, right? And I tell a lot of people, I want AC Grand Rapids. There's some players where this might be their ceiling, but a lot of players this isn't going to be their ceiling, right? So how are we aiding them and developing them to get into where they want to go?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So what, as an independent team within MLS Next Pro, how does that work with player development? I know soccer nerds and whatnot are a little bit concerned with maybe MLS Next Pro becoming like a AAA affiliate. And so a player isn't necessarily representing their city or their club. They're just like, using it as a ladder to go to a pro team or a higher level first division MLS team. So how does that work with contracts? Do you guys have two ways with like partner MLS teams, or are they truly independent and they just are like in the shop window for MLS teams to see them?
Yeah, for us as an independent team, we're truly independent. I think that's the great part for us being independent, is that we have the flexibility and we have the autonomy, right, to select all of our players. And obviously with that comes a different dynamic when you talk about roster budget. Like, all these players are ours, and all the responsibility is on us to scout, recruit, and sign the players. But I think there are opportunities for clubs like us to have partnerships with MLS clubs and opportunities for loan deals. But I think that the great part about being an independent club is that we'll be able to select talent that truly represents Grand Rapids, right? And we want to build an identity where our players want to be bought into that identity, to our style of play, how we want to play, that represents this community, and the game that represents this community. And so we'll take a multi-pronged approach, right, in terms of how we're scouting and sourcing talent. But I think we also have to, be privy and do smart deals. If there's an opportunity for a loan deal where we're partnering with MLS club to, for a player to come and be loaned down to us to get some professional experience and, an atmosphere where we'll have 8,500 fans, at a match. Those are opportunities that we'll certainly look at. But again, has to be built within our identity and how we want this club to be built.
All right, so let's talk about the stadium a little bit, Darius. As you said, you want to build a right-sized stadium, one that you can fill up and it has a vibrant atmosphere. Aiming for what, 8,500 seats in Grand Rapids. Where are we on the stadium? I know plan to open obviously next year, 2027. So what's going on right now with Amway Stadium?
Yeah, Amway Stadium is progressing, fantastically. They've done a fantastic job. It's right off, Highway 131. And, again, when I talk about a city that is out kicking its coverage, if you will, or punching above its weight class, when you drive through, Philadelphia is one that comes to mind. You see their major league stadiums, their ballpark, their arenas, Lincoln Field right off the highway. It's the same thing taking place here. When you're driving off the highway, you see Amway Stadium. It's certainly a spectacle off the highway. You see Van Andel Arena, where our minor league hockey team plays. We see the new amphitheater going in. And so there's these, fantastic assets that are, being built in this city. And I think it's really going to kind of put Grand Rapids on the map. And maybe at some point won't be really seen as a secondary or tertiary market, but, a market where, people know about it and want to come to and see. And, it's really a market on once you get here, you really start to feel that community. And so, Amway Stadium, it's going up. It's the construction's taking place. Both sides of the canopy have gone up. They're going to start digging out the pitch here in the next couple of weeks, and you're really starting to see it take shape and really look like a stadium. And we couldn't be more thrilled to have a home like that to play our football in.
Exciting times there in Grand Rapids. Definitely a team or a city that supports its minor league teams. You got the Grand Rapids Griffins. There's a pro volleyball team there and a basketball team as well. And so they definitely come out and support. What kind of like level of education are you having to do when you go out and meet community members? You said you were out at the Speakeasy and you're out there out and about. Because I remember there was a long cross-state rivalry in the NPSL days, Detroit City FC taking on Grand Rapids FC. And I remember back then, even there was a little bit of confusion in the soccer scene of what that was, that elite amateur. And so with this being MLS Next Pro and it's a newer league, like, are you having to do some education there on the ground?
I mean, it wouldn't be American soccer if there wasn't some confusion between all the different alphabets and letters, right? And so I feel like we're always doing education, right? And I think that's the fun part about the stage of growth of the sport that we're in, right? Where it's an opportunity to educate fans, to bring them in, to teach them, about, what we're building specifically. But yeah, I mean, MLS Next Pro is it's a new league, right? So there's some, opportunity to engage and educate fans in that regard. And, a lot of individuals, they'll know DCFC, across the way, across the state. And, for us, it's, how are we, maybe while we're not playing the same league, I think there are opportunities for us to have some type of, friendly derby with them as well, and connectivity, because, professional football in the state just kind of raises, rising tides raise all boats. And so there is education between, which leagues each team plays in. And then you mentioned, GRFC, which preceded us, and how are we bringing that history in the market into what we're building at AC Grand Rapids as well. And so I think that's going to be an evolving, evolution. I think we'll always be educating, fans, about the game, because it's a global sport, right? And so many different leagues across the world, but I think soccer is also a universal language. And so if we can all speak the same language, I think that makes it easier for us to educate fans as they come on board.
You got something, Jason?
No, that's all I got.
I was actually we're getting strong requests from the MK Ultras to get the renderings of Amway Stadium on the screen as you talk about it. So I was scrambling to talk about that. So one of the kind of the jokes and the thing as we muse about stadium renderings is, like, we see these big, beautiful, shiny pictures of all these amenities. How true to these original renderings do you think the stadium's going to turn out?
Yeah, I mean, everything that I've seen and been a part of, it's going to be, exactly what the renderings show. I've been in meetings where we're talking about seating, we're talking about premium spaces, we're talking about supporter seats, we're talking about, the fan journey, entry gates, we're talking about marches to the match. And so we're really trying to think of every touch point that a fan will have as they, come to a AC Grand Rapids match at Amway Stadium. And so I think, it's really going to be top class. For me, it'll be the best stadium in MLS Next Pro, hands down. Obviously, if you're taking away the MLS stadiums that teams play in now, but I think for us, it's always that we need more of these in the league, right? And so just challenging, other clubs to continue to push and invest, and because playing in environments like this and playing in stadiums like this that are right size in these markets, that's what it's about.
Darius, I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing that has happened in American soccer, is that suddenly we're building soccer stadiums of this side. I mean, obviously Louisville's kind of, I think, started the trend. There's a bunch of other things happening now. As somebody who played in MLS, who played in a giant American football stadium in part of your career, who saw some of that, I mean, obviously there's one of those in Charlotte and they fill it up. They do a pretty good job of filling it up. But we wanted soccer stadiums. I just from, separate from AC Grand Rapids, what's that like to see it happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly been mind blowing to see the evolution over the years, right? And to your point, right? I mean, soccer had to start in this country, had to start, somewhere, and kudos to all the ownership groups that, opened up their existing, facilities to really help kickstart and get, MLS going off the ground, and to really get soccer going off the ground in this country. But we're kind of, evolving into that next phase, right? And I think being able to play in soccer-specific stadiums is second to none. When I played, I enjoyed my time playing in New England with the Revolution and playing in Gillette Stadium. But I'd tell you, there was nothing like, going to Portland and playing against Portland in front of the Timbers Army, and again, a right-size kind of soccer-specific stadium. There was nothing like at the time, going to, Sporting Kansas City when they were playing at the time, Children's Mercy Park. It just brings a different vibe, and something that's more true to the game. And so I think the more we can have, soccer specific stadiums, in this country, and where it makes sense, right? Because I'm not naive, right? I know there's certainly a business component to it, and has to make sense, for the community and make sure it's a community asset. But there's tons of ways that, that we're going to activate, our stadium outside of match days as well. And I think that has to be a piece of the puzzle also.
Yeah, I know we were talking about renderings, Rob, but I found some pictures of the under construction Amway Stadium there in Grand Rapids that I wanted to show while we had Darius. I think these are about a month old. I found them on a Instagram account for Grand Rapids. So you can tell, lots of progress there, obviously. I mean, there may be plenty more in the last 30 days or so. I don't know if you can give us any other description of what we're seeing here, Darius, but obviously it looks like it's coming together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's probably a little bit more over on I don't know if that's the south side, but both canopies are nearly, from a steel standpoint, are constructed. I think at the end of this month, the actual last steel beam will be put in place, and then that's when they'll start to dig out the pitch. I think another amazing part of this is we're right next to a YMCA that's highly activated here in town, and an opportunity for us to engage with the kids there, to the patrons there, and the attendees of the YMCA. And so, this is located right on the west side of town, a neighborhood that's certainly growing and thriving in Grand Rapids. And, again, an opportunity for us to engage with the west side of the community, and, be able to host different events and clinics at the stadium. So like I said, this will truly be an asset for the community. And the goal really is to, as we continue to grow and scale, right, we want to see kids in Grand Rapids, look at Amway Stadium and say, I want to play there one day. And that circles back to the league partnerships and the clubs that we engage with from day one.
That's a great insight there, Darius. Thanks for filling us there. And before we let you go, kind of like more of like a informal or personal question, your job, president of a soccer team that is building a stadium, this is like a one-of-one spot. Outside of, obviously, you're looking forward to when the stadium opens and the game day, that first kickoff. What aspect of this job as a president of a soccer team that's in its infancy, yet to launch, what is the best part of the job in your seat?
Yeah, for me, it's doing the dirty work, right? It's rolling up sleeves and really building true foundation, right? It's building togetherness, is building belonging, right? And so, I have the privilege and responsibility of, really getting to shape a culture, right? If it goes wrong, you can point to one person, but I pride myself on trying to build things the right way, and I've been fortunate to, be a part of some unique projects in my past, but I also say that each of them are very unique, right? And so again, for me, it's not kind of putting my fingerprints on this, but how am I helping shaping what's already taking place in the community and helping integrate to that. And I think that's the biggest piece for me, is just finding the way for AC Grand Rapids to integrate to the great things that are taking place in this market right now, and not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel or do something new, but truly integrate and become part of the fabric that's already here.
Really good stuff. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for the first meeting between AC Grand Rapids and DCFC in the Open Cup when that comes eventually, as it's the regionalized rounds of the tournament. It'll happen at some point. I can't wait for that to happen. But Darius Barnes, president of AC Grand Rapids, thank you so much for helping us get to know the district of Grand Rapids here on Morning Kick Around.
Thank you, gents. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Darius.
All right. Thank you, Ultras. Thank you for chipping in a lot of commentary during that interview. And thank you to Darius for sharing some time and breaking us down to us what's going on there. Exciting times in lower division soccer in America, part of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. A brand new D3 soccer stadium on the banks of the river there in Grand Rapids. Stick with us. We got one more segment on today's episode of Morning Kick Around. Stay with us. Welcome back in here, wrapping things up on Monday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Jason shaking his head. That was a good conversation. We battled through your camera ails, but
Did we? Okay, we did. I guess we did. Here at the end of the show, thanks to Darius Barnes for coming on. Obviously, really good stuff to talk to him. Here at the end of the show, we should celebrate the opening of a lower division soccer stadium, should we not?
Yeah, we sure should. We got a lot of good friends, a lot of MK Ultras that are dedicated Fort Wayne soccer fans. And Saturday marked the opening day for the brand new soccer specific stadium in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And there you go. I can't really say that it's like Ralph Stadium.
I don't want to try, Rob. I'll leave it to you. Ralph? Is it Ralph? I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, Ryan Smeltzer will at some point correct us on our pronunciation. But look, I know there's been some travails with the timing, right? With the sprint to get that building ready so that they could open it when they said they were going to open it. I think there are probably a lot of things left to be done there in the stadium. I think you can maybe tell down at the bottom, that lower section there, maybe not complete. I don't know exactly what's going on. This is before supporters came in. I don't know. But, any soccer stadium in America opening is a reason for celebration. You can dig into the details of how it got built or where the money came from or how the land was given to the club or all that stuff. I don't think that's an issue in Fort Wayne, but it might be an issue in other places. I still think it's incredible every time we build a soccer stadium in this country. Because, again, when I was a little kid, there were no soccer stadiums, Rob. We didn't have any goddamn soccer stadiums. Now we got soccer stadiums coming out of, everywhere. It's great.
Yeah, when I started my soccer content creation journey about 10, 12 years ago, this was kind of the future that seemed like it was necessary, but seemed like much of a pipe dream. It still does to a degree in a lot of different places. There's a lot of proposals that, won't come to fruition, but places like Fort Wayne and Grand Rapids getting soccer specific stadiums is that future that, I was hoping for way back in the day. My first, I was credentialed at NWSL team. I was Chicago Red Stars. First time I was credentialed there, and they were playing in like a D3 college stadium. And the advancement of stadiums, not only in the women's leagues, but also in the divisions down the way is, that pipe dream starting to come to reality. Obviously, this wasn't the perfect opening. There was construction delays with the weather and this and that and the other, but it seemed like it was a special day regardless. I guess people had to sit in different seats because you can see in that picture, not all the sections were open, not all the parking was open. The video board isn't installed yet, so it's not at its 100% capacity, but that's kind of like part of the journey, right? Part of the ever-changing American soccer landscape is, they built the stadium, they passed the inspections, They were able to get people in the house, and it seemed like it was an entertaining game for all.
Let's do what people are suggesting we do in the chat. Jenny, can you clank the clanger for us for this brand new stadium, Ruoff Stadium in Fort Wayne, Indiana? We have clanged the clanger.
My vocabulary, not clanger worthy. Brand new stadium opening in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Always.
That's an 11 out of 10 on the clanger worthiness radar.
It's clang worthy. Absolutely. It's again, whatever the number of people in the building, whatever the complete readiness of the stadium, whatever those things, it's still a reason to celebrate. Looks like a beautiful future for Fort Wayne FC.
Yeah, sure is. Should we move into kind of some housekeeping notes at the end of the show here? Talking about Morning Kick Around shirts. They're getting sent out, right?
Oh, okay. I like how you put yes, Rob. After
They're not in
some
my living room.
No, after some preparation via shipping, your guy Jason has never shipped out this many things at once in his life. It's never been a thing for me. So we are shipping out shirts today. I do need to update for those of you who barely missed or missed by a couple days our original deadline for the first run. You might not get your shirt yet, but we're going to work on that. We're going to get another run together. This is actually a reason for me to encourage anybody who hasn't already bought their shirt to go and do that so we can get a run. I think we'd like to get to 10 before we ask Mark to do another run of MK shirts. So if you haven't bought your MK jersey, your morning kick around kit, go to the Fourth Wall page. Again, the link is in the posts on the YouTube channel. It's not the shop's not showing up on our YouTube channel for various reasons, but we do technical stuff. Really killing me right now.
Man, yeah, we're hanging on here.
Oh, we did. There it is. And Jenny put it up on the screen. I know it's a lot to type. Just remember, it's Morning Kick Around Shop at Fourth Wall, and you should be able to find it. And the jersey, I think, is front and center. It is gorgeous. I wore it on Friday. You saw me wear it on this show, and it is a beaut. It's got the embroidered badge on it. It's got our MK Ultra special badge that Mark did for us. It says Morning Kick Around. It says the map on the back. It's got the little rooster on the numbers, just like a fancy Premier League team or MLS team would have with the league logo. So it is very nice. I think it is a reasonable price point. Obviously, a little bit extra for shipping, and you should be good to go. So let's get another run together so we can get everybody who missed that first deadline their Morning Kick Around shirt.
Yeah, I think we'll post a specific date for the second run here, but I think mid-May would probably be an appropriate time to set that. So we'll make a post about an exact second run cutoff date, because obviously there's people that bought a while ago that haven't had theirs made yet. So be on the lookout there for a post probably in the next 10 to 14 days. I think seems appropriate after our Rhode Island trip, but I can't wait to don my Ultra kit.
I know you're excited. I I got yours. I got yours put to the side, ready to bring to Pawtucket for you. I'm going to be rocking mine as well. Yeah, I mean the magical elves who make our jerseys are on call. So as soon as we can get a number together, we will ask them to make some more.
I think we got a specific question sent to us at the beginning of the show. We might have talked about it. The cursed Miami. That was we already talked about that, right?
We did mention that. I mean, we did a little impromptu Q&A and to kind of review what the chat's got going on. By the way, if you're not an MK Ultra, I don't see a lot of people in the chat who aren't ultras, and my camera's going to go out again. This is going to stay. I'm not messing with it anymore. There's no more Jason on camera. You're just going to get the little bouncy headshot, okay?
You're vibing, but you're very calm still.
I can't with the camera right now. Guys, I got to fix it. Support MK Ultra, so Morning Kick Around, give him an Ultra so Jason can get a better camera for his computer. I might go buy one today. Anyway, we need ultras. We need support. We need to build our community. You get the Discord, you get the bonus stuff, you get access to all the things we're making. We're making a run of stickers right now. We're doing a bunch of stuff. And obviously you just get to be on the map. I just saw somebody wants to add the Dallas Tornadoes to their dot because they used to watch Kyle Rowe Jr. play soccer back in the NASL days, Rob. I saw that in the chat earlier. I know
that's a deep cut.
That is a very deep cut. And I also saw somebody in the Discord ask for a dot in California. So we need to further dot the map out there in American soccer with our ultras.
Mr. Bob throwing down again, gifting memberships, and you're getting corrected.
I'm so sorry, Kate. It is Dallas Tornado, not Dallas Tornadoes. A singular name for a team. Way before that was a popular thing. We weren't really doing singular names back in the 70s, but I guess the Dallas Tornado were singular.
Singular NATO. Yeah. Well, either way, we're talking about supporting the show. It seems like some of our themes of the show, the stadiums, the badge explainers, the kind of the different growths and contractions of the American soccer landscape, and that stuff's coming to fruition. So we really want to be, putting our best foot forward as all the things we've been talking about over the last year and a half really start to bear fruit. And I couldn't be more excited to be in this seat to do this. And we just need some help to go along the way. We had a near miss. The show was nearly blown up by my day job needs, but we're still surviving and putting our darndest forward as we work towards not only the future of maybe promotion and relegation within USL, the new advancement of MLS Next Pro and what that means to the USL plans, and obviously the World Cup on our shores. Contentious as the lead-in may be, it's still going to be a big event here for soccer in our country. Have you got anything else before we get out of here, Mr. Davis?
Nope, I'm good. I got to fix this camera problem and mail out a bunch of shirts for everybody who bought one. Appreciate you.
All right, so our schedule is we'll be back here on Wednesday as per usual. We will be back here at the same time, but on location on Friday morning, and of course, Saturday night in Pawtucket, morning kicker on location at Centerville Bank Stadium. Can't wait to see you guys out there. And until Wednesday, everybody, enjoy your soccer.